presentation, Debugging Your Communication for More Success and Efficiency in Biz DevOps. My name was Sabine Bendixen, and perhaps you have read some of my work in the internet or so. Now it's shorter but not easier. It's Wojcieszak. But when you Google for me, please use Bendixen because this name is brand new, only 1.5 weeks old, so you didn't find anything about Sabine Wojcieszak at the moment. But this will change after this conference. Here are some links. You can find me on the internet if you have questions or want to connect with me. About me, I'm Chief Consultant at GetNext IT. And we do all the stuff about communication, leadership, culture, change. Come in. And besides that, I'm working on different companies. I'm writing some articles. There's already an ebook, but in German, so I think it's not very interesting for you. And I'm speaking at different conferences all over the world, and I have organized DevOps Days Kiel with a great team. And it's interesting, I found another DevOps Days organizer here, so it's a big community. Yeah, I'm the lady from the northern part of good old Germany. Here, we are placed here, close to Denmark, close to Sweden. And yeah, it was a long way here to Australia, and it was the first time for me. And I just told him, I have no problem with jet lag because I couldn't sleep at the plane. I'm sorry to say, but at the moment, I don't like any crying babies anymore. We had 6 in our cabin, and they were crying 14 hours from Abu Dhabi to Australia, 6 hours from Düsseldorf to Abu Dhabi. And I don't like crying babies at the moment. I think this will change again, but now it's enough. So, what do you know about Germany? Okay. Oktoberfest. That's not Germany, that's Bavaria. Yeah, but what you said is true. Most of the people, when they think about Germany, most think about Bavaria. It's just the south of Germany. It's not whole Germany. And I am not in the dirndl here. So, and I would never ever wear a dirndl in Schleswig-Holstein. That's the part of Germany I come from. So, when you see this glass, who thinks this glass is half full of you? Let's guess this is half. This is the half. Who thinks it's half full? Who thinks the glass is half empty? Welcome to Germany. Most of the Germans, when you ask them, would say it's half empty. We are never ever satisfied with our work. When you have done a great job and you ask your colleague and he said, oh, it's okay. Yeah, it works. And when we get to countries like England or the United States or Australia, and everyone says, awesome, brilliant, excellent, we think, what's going on? Am I wrong here? So it's a little bit crazy about us Germans, but I think we are kind people, most of us, some. And one is here, so let's start. Since my early years, I have problems with zippers. Not because I'm not able to close a zipper, but because when someone comes close to me and I see that the zipper of the trouser is open, it's always me who recognizes it. And I think I'm fair enough to say, hey, close your zipper. Make a sign or something like that. No problem. It always works with the one whose zipper is open. The worst thing which could happen is that a third party recognizes our communication. What do? They said, hey, Sabine, where are you looking at? Don't look all the time at the pants of somebody. He tried to make it, or they tried to make a joke at me, but what happens? The other person whose zipper is open feels embarrassed by the situation. And that's a thing why I felt that they have not enough empathy in such a communication situation. So I will come back to the zipper later and show you why the zipper could be a symbol for a good communication. Here you see, this guy has an open zipper, and perhaps it was me who has recognized it. Let's talk about DevOps. All the time when we talk about DevOps, we talk about the great wall of confusion. Different departments, different silos, different ideas, different goals. And when we talk about DevOps and when we talk about to companies who want to implement DevOps, we have to talk about how we can rebuild this wall of confusion and come over it so that it is not some kind of a border and people can work together in a better way. When we bring the BIS into game, this wall of confusion becomes even higher because more silos are included, and yeah, the situation is different stakeholders, different behavior, different goals. And with the BIS, more different stakeholders, multiple behaviors, and lots of goals. And they all should work together and bring out the best they are able to. So, one big problem is, who is the BIS? And you know all, perhaps, those pictures of where's Waldo or where's Wally. The BIS is everywhere. Everyone is the BIS. They all look the same, but they all have different ideas. They all have different goals. And you have to identify the part of BIS which is necessary in the special project. Who the fuck is the BIS? Now let's imagine. A developer meets the marketing people. Why are you smiling? Interesting idea. So that's the board. We have head of marketing, we have head of sales, and the developer. And they are talking about the project. Who else should we target? They have the man and the female. And the question of marketing, who else should we target? We want to get a bigger target group. The head of sales said, that's a good question, because they have in mind money, 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 money. Good idea. Men, women, who else? Perhaps. And he says, huh? When we have the male and the female, we have everything. What should we do? So, to bring all those three together is hard stuff. Sales and marketing could work, perhaps. Yeah? But when we bring devs and the ops and so into the game, it's getting harder. It's not that I don't like devs and ops. Please get it right. It's because the way of thinking is a little bit different. And that's okay so, because everyone has to do his job. So, but when we talk about DevOps or biz DevOps, there's one important goal: faster, better, and continuous. So now you see we have a group of multiple characters, multiple people with multiple ideas and multiple goals. And they should work faster, better, and continuous. They have to discuss a lot. But time is the limiting factor in actual IT projects. You don't have endless time to work on stuff. So we have to look what we can do to avoid avoidable mistakes just to save time. Because time is the thing we shouldn't waste. Yeah? It's a limited resource, and it is a bad idea to waste it. What's the solution for some companies? Many companies think, hey, great, let's implement a tool. Okay, let's try it. But they soon will discover a tool is good, but it's not the only solution. So some of them think we need more tools. Okay, let's do it. Spend some money on more tools and okay. But they will also soon discover that's not the solution. Okay, because perhaps this have been the wrong tools. Now let's do some different tools. But what if people in the team are not interested in using these tools? They are not convinced that these tools are very good for them. They are not convinced that they have to change the way they work. So tools are not the first solution and not the first thing you have to do. When we talk about BizDevOps, we have to talk about communication, because communication is the link between people. So here's the zipper again. Let's see one side of the tape is the dev side. The other is the ops or the ops and the biz, or the devs and the biz side, whatever. This is where all the people are put onto, like the T's in a zipper. All the individuals. Every individual is one piece of this chain. The tape is the organization they are put onto, and the communication is the slider body, the thing with which you bring those T's together to connect a chain. And then you have the pull tab, the little small thing you can grab with your fingers to pull the pull tab up and down. This is the tool. The tool is just there to help you with your communication. A tool could never, ever replace communication. It gives you help for argumentation. It gives you help to remember things you want to do. It visualizes things you want to explain, but a tool is never, ever a replacement for communication. And when you want to implement new tools to a team, you have to communicate it, and you have to communicate why they should use it, and how, and what is the purpose of it. So when I say to people in company, we have to improve your communication, most of them at first think we want to improve quantity. But in most companies, quantity is not the question. Perhaps sometimes it is too much communication there, this could be, but only a few companies have to come to less communication. Most of the people communicate enough. The question is the quality of the communication. Quality over quantity. Peter Drucker once said, the most important thing in communication is hearing what isn't said. And there's a lot of information in between the lines. And when we talk about communication, we do not only talk about the words itself, we talk about so much more. And we will now look at what is all combined in communication. Paul Watzlawick once said, we cannot not communicate. Sounds a little bit crazy, but it's right. Whenever at least two people met, communication starts at once, even when they are saying nothing, because communication is more than just the word. We will see it later. And when we start to communicate, we have to face that misunderstanding is everywhere around us, and that we have to realize that we have to deal with problems. But misunderstandings are sometimes demotivating. Misunderstandings often cost a lot of time because they have to be cleared up. Misunderstandings often are the reason for failures, and so misunderstandings could really be expensive for a company because of the failures, because of the invested time, because of the bad atmosphere, and because of demotivated people. So why don't we look at what we can do to avoid some of those misunderstandings? Yeah, I guess it is because we sometimes think we are some kind of masters of communication. We learn to communicate from our early childhood on. So why the hell should I now start to learn and improve my communication? I don't see any reason for it. I'm communicating all the time, and I most of the time get what I want. So if other people are not happy with my communication, it's not my problem. I think we are more like masters of disasters in communication because we know that there are misunderstandings, and we don't do anything about it. We just accept it. Shit happens. So I've said what I want to say, and now it's up to the other one. But when we want to improve ourselves, when we want to have more success and work more efficient, that's not the way we should think. But communication is a part of us. It's a part of our behavior. And as we are all humans, we are some kind of trapped in the web of patterns and behaviors we have adopted over a long, long time. And we want to change anything. It's really a hard job. It's not. So now I improve my communication. I go to a one-day workshop, and then I'm better than ever. No. The workshop is just there to show you a way. And then afterwards, you have to train it. And to change patterns needs time. More than one day, believe me. But if you do it, you will be very happy about it. At NDC Oslo, I met Jeremy, and he had a talk about how to become a social developer. And he said that the tech industry attracts introverts, and I think he's right. And the interesting thing about it is that most of those who are working in the tech industry starts to interest for computer stuff at the age of 12, 10 or 12 or 13, something like that. A very, very important age in our personal development of social skills. The introverts stay at the computer, look at the computer and do the stuff there. And that's great. It's a really great job to concentrate on one topic, on one problem, dive deep into it. Yeah, but the other ones went out and trained their social skills. And so the gap becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. Perhaps, not all. Yeah? But Jeremy also told in his talk, they love to communicate. There are a lot of people who say developers cannot talk, they cannot communicate. That's wrong. I'm not from the technical side. I've always trainings about communication and so on. But when I discovered developers for the first time, what I discovered was that they really like to communicate. They communicate a lot. When I come to some developer I don't know, and I start a conversation, just a slight conversation. Oh, this morning it was bad weather outside here in Sydney. It was raining. And when I am the lucky one to meet one developer who is interested in weather, I have triggered a point, and he will start to tell me everything about weather on the 3rd August, because he knows everything. Yeah? When a developer is interested in some stuff, he knows every detail. And he likes to share his knowledge to people he trusts, or she trusts, sorry. So that's very interesting. I like this. But there are a lot of people who feel a little bit educated in such a situation and to try to get away as soon as they can. And what is the experience for the developer? All the time he starts to communicate with foreign people, they try to get away from him. They don't like to communicate with him. Just an example, yeah? But I think you understand what I want to say. You have a skill to discover problems, to discover topics very detailed. And that's necessary for the work of a developer. When you are interested in, other people often are not so interested in all those detailed stuff. They're just at the surface and want to do a little bit small talk, and so different behaviors meet. And perhaps for both sides, it's a strange feeling, and the experience could be not good if one of the side is not interested in changing the point of view. So they love to communicate when you have the right topic. But he also said, because he has experienced it by himself, behavior can be changed. Hard work, but it could be. So it was very interesting to talk to Jerry. Now let's do some basic stuff about communication. This is a very simple model of communication. We have the sender who is sending a message, we have the receiver who receives the message, and then reacts with his own message. Very simple, and you know this from your computers. It's the same idea behind it. But that's not how it works with us. We have many different components of communication. The first one is the verbal communication. It's the grammar, it's the wording, the syntax, the logic, the language itself. That's if you write a program. It's nearly the same. Just the words. But this is just a small part of our communication. The bigger part is the non-verbal communication. And this is divided into two parts, paraverbal and body language. The paraverbal communication, this is my volume, the speech rate. Am I too slow or too quick? When I'm too slow, it's really boring. When I'm too quick, you can't follow me. So the speech rate is very interesting. The intonation, when I speak all the time at the same intonation, you will be sleeping well as soon. So it's very interesting. The voice itself, we can't change our voice, we have it, but the voice itself is an important factor in communication. The articulation, when I speak in this way and you can't understand, doesn't matter if I say anything. So. And the speech melody. This is the paraverbal part of communication. You can train most of it. And this is what is done in communication workshops, often done in communication workshops. And then we have the part of the body language. Really important part. My face, what I do with my face, the facial expression, all the gestures. Am I standing here? Or am I working with my arms and so on? The German people mostly tend to stay this way. And when the German people come to the Mediterranean countries, where all the people are always speaking with their arms, we felt a little bit offended and say, hey, what are they doing? Are they arguing? Have they problems or what? And they are talking about nice weather, yeah, with their arms. So that's the gesture. Body posture. My whole body, am I upright or am I always this way? Eye contact. When I speak with people, do I look to them? The clothing. The clothing is a part we really can decide by ourselves what we want to wear. And it could be a sign, therefore, that we belong to a special group of persons. And we have a part which is very important, but we can't influence. It's the body chemistry. The body chemistry is the oldest part of communication on the world, older than the people are, the humans are. And body chemistry is often the reason why people who haven't met before came together and like them within the first 2 seconds or hate them within the first 2 seconds. It's body chemistry most of the time. So, you see here some percentages. 7% is the impact of words in communication. Only 7% impact of words. 38% is the impact of voice, of the paraverbal communication. And 55% is the impact of your body language. Be honest to yourself, how often have you thought about your body language? But it's 55% of the impact on your communication. Misunderstandings often appear because what you say does not match to what you show. And this is called the inconsistent message. You say, yes, I want to do it for you until tomorrow, but you do this. Yes, I want to do it for you till tomorrow. Now, the receiver has a problem. You say yes, but you show no. What should he trust? 55%. Or not? Why should I trust 7% when I have 55% of information? So I choose the 55%. And so he or she wouldn't feel well in the situation. Said, oh, yeah, she said yes. Okay, I should trust her. But inside of me it says, no, I think it wouldn't work. And I think the receiver will have a bad night until tomorrow and to see what will happen. So, what's going on with a message? When we send a message, we encode this message. And this happens automatically. Yeah? We think about words, but this happens. Then we send it, and here the receiver starts to decode the message, and the message, the information, run through filters. These filters are very individual. This could be experiences the receiver has made before. This could be special knowledge about the sender or the topic. This could be the actual mood, or biases or prejudices, whatever. Those filters are very individual. And sometimes they depend on the situation. So no one knows which filters are at work at the moment. Not even the receiver himself. Because it all happens in our subconscious. If we have to do all those things in our conscience, it would take too much time. And our brain is not able to process all those informations to come in every second. So we need our subconscious. The worst thing about our subconscious is we often deny it. No, I'm a very conscious guy. Subconscious. No. Yes, there is. Most of things we do in communication happens in our subconscious. So the information run through filters. They were interpreted and causes emotions. And on these emotions, the receiver reacts. That's what happens. And now we have another circle of communication. The sender or initiator sends his message, it runs through the filters, the receiver receives it and reacts and becomes the sender himself. That's just nearly the truth, because most of the time, sender and receiver are both at the same time. Because when I speak to you, you are sitting here and listening to me, but you are still sending messages to me with all your body language. So I'm sender and receiver, and you are receiver and sender at the same time. That's complicated. And there are a lot of parts where misunderstandings can happen. So action is required to think and talk about communication. First step we have to do is to change our mindset. We have to accept that we are not masters of communication. We have to accept that we all should improve our communication or examine our communication. So communication really makes a difference, and we have to learn about our communication. How do we communicate? How do other people feel about our communication? And what can we do to improve it? When we talk about improving communication, the single steps could be different for every person, because everyone communicates in different ways. And there is not one recipe. This is the recipe for improve your communication, do it. No, that won't work. Because we are all different. And when we want to improve communication, we have to find individual ways and individual points to improve parts of our communication. We have to think about our communication. Communication should not happen suddenly. It should be a thoughtful communication. And we should ask for help to improve our communication, because we just have an idea about how other people feel about our communication, but it's better to ask them. And when I want to write a program, I ask a specialist, someone who knows what he is doing. When you want to improve your communication, your team communication or your individual communication, ask a specialist. And don't do it because you have read some books. Yeah? But because of the reason that most of us think we are all masters of communication, they think they can do it on their own. Just reading one book is enough to change people's behavior. And I promise you this won't work. Listen with all your senses. You have seen the impact of body language. So this is why I choose the picture with this young one with the big eyes. I have two children, two boys. They are grown up, 22 and 21. But when they were at this age, I always told them, when you listen to me, look at me. And my youngest son has a real problem. He got up very early in the morning. And when I say very early, I mean very early, 4 o'clock in the morning. He was awake. Mom, here I am. He came up to my bedroom, hopped into my bed and wanted to tell me something. I said, yeah, Olaf, start telling me. Mom, you have to listen to me. Yeah, my fault. I told him, you should look at me when you are listening. And so he asked me to do the same. And so every morning I had to open my eyes at 4 o'clock in the morning to listen to his stories. Very interesting stories, but very early. So listen with all your senses. And when you look at the people you are communicating with, you will discover a lot of information about them. Important information you can use to ask questions, helpful questions. And you will see when you are on the way of misunderstanding. And you can clear it up right from the first or second step, and not when you have done the whole way. So listen with all your senses could save a lot of time. I met Torian de Maria Barry at LKCE Munich. And yeah, she talked about multitasking. You have seen this picture about communication, how complex communication is. And now let's look at actual situations in offices. You come into the office of another one, he sits at his desk in front of his computer, and you start talking to him. And he just looks at his screen and is hacking on his keyboard. Yes, yes, yes. No. When we talk to someone and it is important, then we have to stop doing something else and concentrating on this communication. And as we don't know in the forehand if the communication is important or not, we better stop doing other things or say, please let us talk later, I have to finish my work. That would be a solution, but not hacking, and communicating at the same time. I promise you, some information of this communication will be lost. And you don't know if this is the really important one. What happens later? The other one who came in is sure that you have listened and you have heard everything, but you haven't heard everything, and you forget about what he said, and perhaps you didn't do what he asked you to do. So he starts worrying about you because you haven't done it. And he said, oh, I've told you. No, you haven't. Yes, I have. And you start to argue about a thing which is not worth arguing about. But it's up to you to concentrate on communication and not to do other things beside. Multitasking is just a fantasy. Our attitude about on the other person, it is about or on the other person? My attitude against you? My attitude about you? Towards you. Thank you. My attitude towards my communication partner is very important because it influences my way of communicating. Thomas A. Harris, in his transactional analysis, had 4 different attitudes, and the only useful for a successful communication is I am okay, you are okay. Because then we both are on eye level and we can communicate face to face without biases and prejudices. When I'm of the opinion I'm okay, and you are developers or ops, and you are not interested in communication and you can't do it anyway, I would talk to you this way and you would feel it. I would say, okay, let's talk about communication. So I know you all are here because you have to, and I have to tell you some stuff about it, but yeah, you can try it or not. So this would be the way I would talk to you if I have the impression I'm okay and you are not okay. But that's not the way we will get a solution and we will find a commitment. So I'm okay, you are okay is the best way we can talk with each other and get results out of it. Believe me or not, especially when we talk about constructions like DevOps, BizDevOps, this is the first thing we have to achieve. The ops, the devs, my God, the biz. With this attitude, it won't work. And you first have to learn to accept the others, to accept the others' goals, the others' ideas, the others' way of thinking, and see it as an enrichment for the work. I'm okay, you are okay. The only attitude to make collaboration successful. When we talk about DevOps, BizDevOps, one important thing is to be able to change the point of view. This does not mean that you have to change your opinion, just to change the point of view, the point from where you look at things, because it's easier to understand other people. When you try to get into their shoes and look from their position, then you are able to find better arguments for your discussion and whatever. And it's important to have the empathy to recognize that it's now time for changing point of view, to look at the problem from another side. Feedback is always an important thing in collaboration, especially in DevOps or BizDevOps. But most of the people think about giving feedback. Yes, for sure, giving feedback is important, but it's also important for debugging your communication to ask for feedback. Yeah, I said before, when we want to improve our communication, we have to learn how we communicate, and we have to learn how other people feel about our communication. So we have to ask for feedback. Ask actively for feedback, and people will love to tell you what they think about your communication. Context matters. Communication is always depending on the situation and on the context. When perhaps we both met again and we are talking, only we two, face to face, and we're talking about DevOps, they say, come on, don't be that stupid. It would be okay, I guess, sorry. But when we have the same conversation in this whole room, and you were telling me about your ideas about DevOps days, and in this room, I would say, hey, come on, don't be that stupid. It could be not okay, because we are not on our own, and many other people were around. So context matters. The words I say can be okay in one situation, but in another situation, they can be totally wrong. So, and that's the next problem of communication. Not one solution, not one guideline, lot of different situations. And that's so hard about it. Email, phone, face-to-face. Yet now we can write beside the percentage, 7, 38, 55. When you write emails, you have only 7% of the impact. People tend to communicate problems via email with only 7% of the impact. Problems will appear suddenly because the other one just had the word. And it's very hard to interpret how do you mean it. That's the reason why it's so hard to make jokes via email. And some people started to invent these emotion counts, but they are not a replacement for you. Perhaps they work, but I'm not sure about that. So, phone call is better because you have the voice, you have 38% more, but the best way is face-to-face. And hey, you're in the tech industry. Most of you have video chat. So when we have to discuss hard problems, why not doing it via video chat when the other one is not right at the office now? So the more senses we address, the better the communication will work. Email is just for fixing things we have talked about, to write them down, but not the first way of communication, not for problems. Appreciation. When we want to debug our communication, when we want to avoid misunderstandings, appreciation is a very good tool for it. Show appreciation so the other one knows how you value him or her, how you value the work, And so you can better talk about problems when someone knows how you value the person or the work. Appreciation, very important. I don't know how it is in Australia, but I know how it is in Germany. And in Germany, appreciation at work is not the thing we do. Yeah? There's always a better way to do what you have done. So, and when a boss came to you and say, "Hey, well done," you say, "Oh, okay." He shows appreciation. What does he want? What's coming up? So we are not very familiar with appreciation, but it's important. Responsibility. You are responsible for your communication, no one else. And you are responsible to avoid mistakes, not throw it over the wall and work finished. No, you are responsible. When I want you to do something, it's my task to communicate it in a way that you can understand it. And it's my task to ask, is everything okay? Do you know what I mean? And if I have listened with my eyes, and I see that you are not sure about it, it's up to me to explain it to you again, perhaps in other words. It's not the responsibility of the other one. And when you want to improve your communication, please do not expect that all the other people around you have the same idea of improving their communication. So you are responsible for yourself, for your communication, and for your improvement. It's up to you. This is a team at Volvo Systems in Kiel. And a few months ago, they had a new situation. One of their local workers moved away, and now he's a remote worker. And it was a new experience for them. Because all the time, all people were in the office. Someday they do some homework, but most of the time they were at the office. And now one of them moved away. And nearly at the same time, they started to do Kanban. Here is the Kanban board, yeah, this side. And they are now standing in front of the Kanban board. And Sebastian, it's the guy who moves away, had to be part of the stand-up meetings. And so after some sessions without him, they said, "Oh, it's a bad idea not to have Sebastian on the stand-up meeting." And so they had the video chat, and Sebastian just looked at the wall. After a few days, one of the guys said, "Oh, that's bad that Sebastian could only look at the wall," and he implemented a camera, which Sebastian can move from his computer at home, so he can always look at the people around and at the board like he wants to. And now everything is fine. Some days later, I talked with the leader of this team, and he said, for him, the situation that one of his guys moved away and wasn't at the office now was a very big problem. And he had the feeling that he had no control over what he is doing, because they were always communicating via email. And after they implemented the stand-up meetings with the video chat and so on, all the time they are now communicating via chat or video chat. And now all sides had a better impression. Also Sebastian, he said he had the impression that he's not part of the team anymore, and now he is part again. So distributed teams are the next step in communication. Another important thing in communication is meetings. Who of you has the impression that he wastes time in meetings? Yeah, that's right. And I think your impression is mostly right, because meetings have so much potential to be improved. They are important, We can't do our work without meetings, but we can do the meetings in a better way. And so communication in a meeting is a good point to improve, to start to improve communication. Commitment over consens. Find commitments, not consensus. Consensus is often combined with compromises, and compromises are not the best choice, not in daily work. Commitment means I am not of the same opinion, but we have decided to do it this way, and I will be loyal and follow it. Let's give me an example. This is Horst Seehofer. He is the Minister President of Bavaria, and you know her. It's Angela Merkel. She is our Chancellor. Both they are from different parties, but they have to collaborate. Now we have a big problem in Germany and all over Europe. We have 1.1 million refugees in 2015. That's a lot. A lot of people come over to Germany and want to stay there, have a lot of problems because of the problems in their home country. But they find a consensus. They say, okay, all those people can come to us, and we will help them. We will look what we can do. Then we had now some terroristic attacks in Germany and France, all over Europe. And all the people say, oh my God, all those refugees, and what can we do? And they are the reason why this happens. And when we don't have all the people, the foreign people in our land, we won't have any terrorism. You can think about if you want, but I don't know. Angie, we call her Angie, yeah? So Angie stopped her holiday and gave a press conference, and she said, no, we will manage the problem. No, don't worry, we will do it. We do like we have decided, we will do it. They both have a consensus. But what did Horst do? He said, no, we won't manage it. Consensus is over now. He got out of the consensus what he could get, and now he said, no, we won't do it anymore, and we have a big problem, and Angela is not right. We won't manage it. That's really bad for us, because a lot of people in Germany are scared about the situation, about what's going on. When you look at our press, there's always next terror attack or whatever, and our leader says something, she is the boss, and there's another one who wants to be the leader, and he puts his personal goals about common goals. And for those people who are unsure about the situation, it's very hard when the leadership does communicate in this way and doesn't follow their consensus. Commitment in this way would be a much better thing, but here, personal goals are not the way to find a commitment. So, are you ready for openness? And how open and honest are you and your team? Is open communication sending you to hell, or offers you new opportunities? Not all teams are really ready for an open communication, because there's something missing, that's trust. And open communication should bring you to new opportunities and not to hell. You have to get rid of all those elephants and elks in the room, all those big problems everyone sees and no one wants to talk about because I'm not sure what happens afterwards. And you have to implement a team culture of trust. When you have trust as your team culture, you can communicate in an open way. And elephants and elks, all those big problems won't be part of your daily work anymore. To implement trust, nonviolent communication could be a good way. Nonviolent communication, invented by Marshall Rosenberg, says that I am not the measure of all. When you sit there with your phone, I could say, please stop playing with your phone. You are not listening. That is a violent, offending communication because my opinion is above all. Marshall Rosenberg would say it in a different way. So please, could you stop playing with your phone? I have the impression that you are not listening, and I think what I have to say is very important, so please stop it. So that's just that I say I don't feel well with you playing with a phone. Sorry about that. And that's the problem. When we give feedback in the daily work, we often do it in a violent or offending way. We have an impression and we put this impression above all. And we wonder why people step back and react in a bad way. Another tool could be the appreciative inquiry. It's an open source project by David Cooper-Ryder, so you can find about it in the internet, and you can contribute with your personal experience about it. The appreciative inquiry is that you ask a lot of questions when you want to change things, when you want to improve things. How do you feel about it? What do you think can we do next step? What do you dream of being in 5 years? And so on. All those questions which bring people to talk about ideas and feelings and so on, and measure their feelings very high. So this is very important when you want to improve communication in your team. So the takeaway is start. It's never too late and never too early. To start to improve your communication. Start now. It's better than start never. Start tomorrow. Start 2 days after today, whatever you want. But the important thing is start to improve communication. Every one of us can improve it. So thank you very much for listening. And if you are interested in further topics of this, on Friday I have a talk about quality, because quality starts in your head, and their communication is also a very important part. Thank you.